Hello, and welcome back to my stream. In my last stream, I made sure that my streaming setup was working, and I think that's true. And yesterday, when I was tupsing around with my setup, I noticed that I have not been paying enough attention to my virtual machine farm. I mentioned it in the previous stream that I have one with some pride and in my voice, and I poked around yesterday and noticed, I haven't updated a lot of these in a while, and actually might be interesting to show how I go about making a new virtual machine for my build farm. So first of all, at the moment I have a shell script called pkgsrc, just like so, and it has commands like guess is actually not committed yet, I want to do that next, but it has list, which is a good one to show you right now. Here are the virtual machines that the script knows how to start. And which ones are available on this machine and which ones are available on a different one. Currently, my heuristic is this machine is Intel, so anything x86 64 or AMD 64 or i386 or x86 or x64 is hosted on this machine, because this machine can run those virtually without emulation. And then the any other platforms, so like ARM 64, ARM v7, HIPAA, Mac PPC, Spark, Spark 64, RISC-V, RISC-V 64, those are hosted on my currently fastest machine, which isn't an Intel. It's an original MacBook Air M1. At some point, I want to get one of those Mac Studios and really crank through some of these architectures really nicely. But for now, it still works pretty well. And ARM64, again, is virtualized. There's no, check my levels, there's no emulation required on an M1 to virtualize an ARM64 platform, like NetBSD or whatever else I might have. So that's an implementation detail, but mainly what I want to show you is how I would get from, say, Debian 11, which is no longer the latest, to Debian 12, which I have heard exists and I want to catch up to. I do want to keep the Debian 11 machine because I'm not yet aware of it being unnecessary to support Debian 11 in the world. Again, the purposes of these machines, primarily, as you can see in the upper right of this stream, are to support me testing the packages that I maintain in package source, which is a cross-platform Unix package system. But also, sometimes you'll see in the stream that I'm working on not QMail or other QMail stuff, and it is helpful for a cross-platform Unix application itself to have a bunch of different platforms, including some old ones, like relatively old, like Solaris 11. In theory, I might want even older ones, just to preserve what QMail used to build on. In practice, that's a lot more trouble than I want to go to. But in theory, I do want to not break old systems in not QMail. So these systems serve both those purposes. They're build machines with a variety of operating systems and a small variety of hardware architectures, so that I can make sure my packages work and I can make sure the software that I co-maintain also works. So what I want to do today is keep Debian 11, but upgrade it. And so what I found here is the Debian upgrade instructions, a short version of them. So let's do that. I'm going to start from right around here, something that can actually highlight. First, ensure your system is up to date in its current release. So we're going to do a package VM start Debian 11 AMD 64. Now that's a lot to type for what is the most recent version of Debian on the same hardware as the host, which is why I want to work on guess sometime soon, so that when I can say package VM start Debian, it'll guess the most recent version on the hardware that's the same as the host. And so for now I have to type it. And off that goes. pretty quick to boot. Now I like to take that and shove it up in a corner and package VM shell, which uses SSH instead of the serial console. It's just a little bit more comfortable. Package VM shell, again, Debian 11, AMD64. Would be nice not to need to type all that. So it says, first ensure your system is up to date in its current release. So for that, that's sudo apt get update. Okay, and then sudo apt get upgrade. I'll tell you off camera. I already did all this, but I didn't follow these particular instructions. So I'm going to do that now. Sudo apt get full upgrade. I don't think I did that step, but that's okay. Okay, and now it says ensure all backups are up to date. So for that, I have a command called package build, which includes shutdown. And that way, on this wide variety of operating systems, I don't have to remember to say sudo, or in some systems it might be something else. I don't have to remember which arguments to shut down, because, for example, on Solaris and Triblix, I'm never going to remember them. When applicable, if there's an argument to power down the machine that otherwise wouldn't happen, then that's included. And it just lets me say, on any package build virtual machine, shut down. And it makes sure that it's virtualized in some way and it's not shutting down the host. And then it figures out what's the right command to do that and does that. So you'll see that's shut down. So now, before I go any further, it said ensure all backups are up to date. And in a sense, I want to keep this whole entire old system. So I want to go into where I keep my disks, which is here. So I'm going to copy Debian 11 to Debian 12. Yeah, and then we're going to work on that one. And leave Debian 11 alone. So that's not instantaneous to copy an entire disk image, even a sparse one. That'll take a moment. Yep, so now I have the Debian 12 image, but I also need to make sure that everywhere I see a Debian 11, that I add a Debian 12. So let's look for where we have, Debian 11 here. Yeah, so in etc package build VM hostnames, I will have a Debian 11, and I want to copy it. And from now on, this is the one that when I SSH to Debian, this should be the Debian. Oops, sorry for the hiccup there. And then I need to get a new port number. Is 7780 in use? Good. Fine. That was one, and then we also need to copy etc package VM. These are the configuration files. To etc package VM Debian 12 MD64. And I think that's what's going to change the output of this list. To think that it has a Debian 12 is that I put a file there. So we need to update the file also to refer. So there's a little redundancy here. I want to automate this more and more as I go. You'll see I've done a lot of automation, but you'll also see it's not enough. And if we ever do a setup from scratch, which we will on this channel, with like a fresh operating system install, which I will need to do actually, because I noticed that I blew away the disks by mistake for Debian 9 and 10 in an attempted refactoring of these scripts. So I need to install them freshly. Luckily, I haven't quite automated the entire setup process of the operating system and the package source Bootstrap and the NFS share, but I have nearly scripted it. It's a checklist, and so it's very followable at this point. But for now, we're just going to mirror these changes, and we're going to need a new Ethernet number. I have a command to do that. What was it? Yeah, that's the one. fqdn to Mac. So we're going to say Debian 12 amd64.petpowerplant.local. This is how I generate the MAC addresses for all my virtual machines. So I just like to do it the same way. That's the one. Hey, that didn't copy correctly. Do what I mean. Okay, new plan. Let's append that to package VM Debian 12. And then when I edit it in VI, I will know what I'm looking at. Yeah. Okay. Very well. So it has a new Ethernet address. It has a new port. It has a new disk that I already copied into place. I think we're in good shape to do this. So let's come up here and say Debian 12. And remember, it's going to be a copy of the Debian 11 image, which we then will upgrade to become Debian 12. That way Debian 11 will still be around. So now I have ensured all backups are up to date. Debian 11, Debian 11. In a text editor, right, we haven't SSH'd here before. That's fine though. In a text editor, replace the codename of your release with... Can I scroll? No, that's following a link. Sudo vi etc apt sources list etc apt sources list.d star. So I have bullseye, and the new one is called Bookworm, I think. Bookworm. Okay. So let's pop back over here, and everywhere we see bullseye, we'll change it to Bookworm. That's that one, and I don't have anything else there, so that's fine. So I did up to here. If you're migrating to Bookworm or later, then a new repo for, I should be able to see what that says. For non-free firmware is available. I guess. I don't think I have any need for that. It's just a QEMU. So let's come back over here. Clean and update package lists. apt-get clean. apt-get update. Oh, and I just noticed something I should do before I forget. Look for any occurrences of Debian 11 in here. Fix them up. Mm-hmm. Okay. Good. So the host name should be Debian 12 next time. And actually, this is an upgrade from a sufficiently old Debian that it predates my current hostname scheme. Whoopsie. So let's fix that too. This should be Debian 12 AMD 64. Okay. All right, let's reboot. and come back to that with the right host name before we go further. Yeah, Debian 12 AMD 64 is the host name that I want and is the operating system that I want. So now we did apt clean upgrade, update. Get back in here. Perform the major release upgrade, removing packages if required. Interrupting this step is an excellent way to stress test your backups. That's a haha. So apt-get upgrade. Weehoo! I have a fast connection, but that doesn't make this fun to watch. Yeah, sure. Everything is fine. Whatever you update is fine. Would be cool at some point soon, like I mentioned, to show installing an operating system in a VM from scratch. Because there's kind of a bootstrap process to it. I want to make sure the operating system is booting over the serial console, not graphically, so that I can see everything that needs to be seen from a terminal. And then if it has a verbose boot, I generally want to turn that on. And if I can remove any delays in the bootloader, I generally want that too. And again, this is from a sufficiently old Debian install that doesn't have all those things. It is serial, it is verbose. I don't think I turned off the bootloader delay. So here we are having done upgrade. Now we're going to do a full upgrade. And I'm sure that's fine too. And then once the operating system is installed with serial console, verbose boot, and no bootloader delay, then we get to the part where I bring up package source. The way that that's done is that I have an NFS mount from the host machine, a Mac OS machine, that I bring up, I think, read-write, even though I don't do a lot of writing to it, but occasionally I'll develop from a client machine. And that includes the package source tree and some other source trees that I work on, like not QMail. And that way I have access to all the code right away. And then I have, like I mentioned, I have a checklist for how to get from package source not being bootstrapped to package source being bootstrapped with my particular settings. Once that's done, then I make sure I have all the packages that I maintain installed. And then every time I do an update, I exercise those. And every time I notice something broken, I take a deep breath and I figure out how to fix them. Sometimes it's in my own packages, and sometimes it's in packages that my packages depend on. And that's why this is a community project. Sometimes people have already fixed the packages that I depend on, which is wonderful and one of the reasons that I love package source. And sometimes I'm the first one or the one that cares the most first to deal with it. And then I decide that I want my stuff to work. That means I need everything to work. And I don't generally run a full bulk build and fix everything that I see. That's tilting at windmills. But I do try to make sure that the stuff that I'm personally maintainer for stays working. Let's go for show the differences between the two. Yeah, so I like to have added, and this is proposing to replace. I like to add these paths because that's a package source path. Let's look for any other minuses. Yeah, and I also like to do sudo passwordlessly. And I think that's it. Can I get an option to merge these? Otherwise, we'll just come back and do it. Yeah, let's do that. Reapply local sudo words changes. Okay, so then I'll take theirs. Manpath config, show differences. This probably, yeah, so I added some paths for package source and also manpath config. But I also like to stay up to date, so I'll take their change. If there's no way to do the merge here, I'll just take care of it after. All of my etc's are tracked in Git using Etsy Keeper, so I don't even have to take notes on what changed. I'll just go look at the Git diff when it's time and put it back. Ah, now you're offering to let me do a merge? That's generous. Do a three-way merge. Maybe I can just do it. Yeah. Yeah, that was because I have local changes for serial console and verbose boot in my grub setup. I do not remember how to do that, but I have it saved in Git. Okay, so then this remove packages that are not required anymore. Sudo apt-get auto remove. Sure, old Python and stuff. Okay, reboot to make changes effective. Yeah, before we do that, let me fix my sudoers. So if we go into Etsy, you can do a git log, and that was done for me. So if I do a git log sudoers, and actually what I want is a git show, just the most recent commit on sudoers. Will this do it? Yeah. Then I can find the bits that I want to keep. There's probably some better way to do this, but I can just go like that. Look for a secure path and paste it in not incorrectly. And what else was there? The group sudo looks like that instead of what it has. Um, that looks close enough. So maybe it figured it out. It already has a no password. Okay, and then manpath config. I need to put these back. Manpath map like that for package source man pages. Just make sure those are nice tabs. Okay. Yeah. Sudo Etsy keeper commit. Store local sudo and manpath changes. All right. Let's reboot into Debian 12. Okay, and it says the way to exercise is uname-a. Well, the host name is Debian 12. The Linux kernel is 6.1. I don't know what that means. Debian says 6.1. It's from September. Okay. And then LSB release-a says Debian new Linux 12 bookworm. Bookworm. So at this point, having done the upgrade, I'll do what I usually do, which is just see if there's anything minor. Yeah, it already got me all the way up to date. So we're all the way up to date. That's that. That's the process of adding a new virtual machine based on upgrading an existing virtual machine. To recap, that was copy the disk image while the system is shut down, copy the config file from Debian 11 to Debian 12, and update the port number to a free port and the name of the disk that I just renamed. And then update one other config file that manages the magic host names for SSHing to know about Debian 12 and also to know that that's now the newest one. And when we say Debian all by itself, it should be that one. And then, and regenerate a MAC address so that it's unique from the other VMs in case they're all running at the same time, which is not usually what I'm doing. And so with that, then you just boot the copied disk image with the new name under the virtual machine with the new number and go through the upgrade process. And when you have succeeded, that is the new version. That's it. So something I would typically do now as part of my maintenance, I mentioned it before, is I run a package update and notice anything that breaks. So this is a good time to start one. So we go into package source CVS and run a package rolling replace, which is kind of it's probably the smartest, easiest way to traverse the package source dependency tree that is installed on your system in an order that minimizes rebuilds as much as it can, not more than it should, but as much as it can. And if anything breaks, this is how you find out. Sometimes things break in this kind of a build, in an update build scenario, I would call it, that wouldn't break if your system was fresh. So for example, glib2. glib2 is used by a lot of things. They switched at some point a while ago from GNU AutoConf and AutoTools to Meson. And something that the AutoTools build did that the Meson build doesn't do is reliably prefer the just built version in the working build tree for linking with and testing over the installed one if there is one. And so if there is an installed one and it's older enough that it, like the new one has a new symbol in it, then the tests will fail because they won't find the new symbol. It's just really dumb. It doesn't make sense to me that there's a build system that is popular that doesn't handle this case. And so we're always doing one-offs of packages like this because it's not like I haven't been able to find one place to fix this in Meson builds. I wish that I could. In general, it's really particular to each build to do this. And this was never a problem in the old build world. So this will come up. What happened here? Needs replacing, but is not installed. Okay, let's see if I can fix up my database a little bit. And then let's see if, is there a Pi? Oh, it's Pi 310. So let's try, I'm not trying to have Pi 310 anything anymore. Or Python 310 for that matter. So does that take care of it then? Probably. This is another thing that has to be navigated when you're doing your package rolling replaces. We recently bumped the default Python from 3.10 to 3.11, and that's great, but package rolling replace doesn't have enough metadata available to it from package source to know the meaning of that. And so it kind of de facto builds a lot of Python 3.11 versions of dependencies because they are newly needed, but it doesn't know that the 3.10 ones can be reaped at this point. So that's something you have to sort of manually, or like, for example, when you're updating Mercurial, which is a revision control system that uses Python internally, over a Python update like this, then occasionally you have to manually shepherd it through the process because it needs a dependency to be updated that it can't because there's a Python 3.10 version installed or something. Just gets confused because it doesn't understand internally because package source doesn't sort of present a unified model of this, that there's two Pythons and only one of them matters anymore. Focus on that. So you just have to manually delete things occasionally and replace things occasionally, but maybe we'll see that. Okay, so we have an updated Debian 12. It's all up to date. It has all the package source packages up to date. That's pretty good. We can pause there and stream something else. Let me think before I do. Is there anything else that would be good to show in this stream? Yeah, you know what? Let's go for it. I'm going to try doing a fresh install of Debian 9, if I can find it. So let's do that. Other releases. Well, they still have Debian 8 too. Wonder if I should go that far back. Okay. Where do I get my goodies? Still on the installation page. Okay. Maybe I can get there like this. No. No. Okay. Debian 9 ISO. Save me the trouble getting Debian. This for stable. How do I get my old version? Aha. Okay. Let's go in here and go in here. Maybe I can browse this way. Old ones? No. No. How? How do I get them? No fair. Okay. New plan. I don't know how to fetch that right now. What else could we do? I want to be running dev1 5. Did I take care of that already? I do not remember. Maybe I prepared for it. Let's see. Another thing I want to do here is have a tab completion. So like for Bash and Z Shell. But mainly I want to have that guessing functionality because most of the time what I want is the most recent version for this architecture. So is this dev1 5? I guess I did do this already. Okay. Nothing to show there. Here's another one I want to do. I had been running CentOS, and I mistakenly also tromped on some of those disk images, but that's okay. I think what I want to do instead is run Rocky Linux. So let's figure out how we can get that and install that. Rocky Linux. So there's a 9. I guess I'll go with this. Okay. And there's 8. I'll take a minimal of that one too. While we're doing that, we have, yeah, my tree here is very much in flux. That's something we can do. Let us that one I didn't keep Debian 1.4 around. I'm just gonna run the latest. And then oh, and I guess that should have been part of this too. Yeah, okay. And I want to add C package. I guess I should get add. Etsy package VM. Yeah. Now git commit amen. And I wanted to add. I'm having a lot of trouble today. Git add Etsy package build VM host names also. Now I will really pay attention. Add Debian 12, update dev 1 to 5. And that actually is what I did. I have less stuff left over here. In this directory, I have packagevm.md, which says how to set up a package VM. Someday, piece by piece, this will get more and more automated. It already has, as you'll be able to tell. You saw me do this when I copied the Debian 12 image from Debian 11, just to make sure that those MAC addresses are distinct on the network. Yeah, then what to do depends on the kind of platform you have. So in this case, we're going to probably do these kinds of things on Rocky Linux to be able to mount the source trees over NFS, to be able to have a compiler, whatever Red Hat LSB core is. I needed it once before. Then we make sure NFS is mounted, and we start using things from NFS, and then we start building things from package source, and on and on and on and on and on. So we're going to do some of that. Looks like Rocky 9 is just about downloaded. And I think my understanding is once I have Rocky 9 running, then I don't need to have CentOS 9 anymore, because it serves the same function for build testing. If that ever proves false, it's easy enough to get a CentOS back, but that's my understanding. So we have Rocky this one. And let's get cracking. I think the place to start will be here, and specifically here. So we want to copy something similar. I'll say package VM sent to us 9. We call it package VM Rocky 9. There's going to be a disk. All that. And we'll have to find a new port number, which we can do. 5559 is in use. Let's just do this. So 5560 is available. And we will cook ourselves a new stanza here. Yep. And then we will make ourselves a new Ethernet address. Rocky 9 AMD 64 .pet power plant .local. And how do I do this part the first time? I'm trying to remember. I think what I have done is actually VNC to the GUI on this machine, but I want to avoid needing that, so I'm going to try to figure that out now. QEMU has some kind of an ncurses mode. Yeah. I wonder if I already had this sorted out. I might. So let's see. Is it going to make the disk image, or do I need to make the disk image? Well, let's try. Package VM start. So it should show up in the list. There it is, Rocky 9 AMD 64. Rocky 9 AM, 64, and then I think, how do I specify a CD-ROM? All these things I need to remember how to do. Dash CD-ROM, blah. Try that. Okay, so something needs to make the disk image. I think I have that here. Yeah. What's the argument for this? I just give the full name. Okay. Rocky 9, AMD 64, QCOW2. Okay. Now, maybe. Yeah. QEMU. What did I do? I'm gonna copy that over for next time because I'm about to do another one. So to follow this example, NetBSD9 x68K. And then package VM start NetBSD9 Max68K CD-ROM path to ISO. And I think then that I already solved this. I just didn't know that I did. So let's go. What am I able to do in this screen? Just say enter. I was trying to move up and down and it didn't do anything good. Maybe I shouldn't have tried to move up and down. Let's kill QEMU and go again. Just hit enter. Oh, hey, Astrid. Hello to you. I have someone watching. Yeah, I'll recap what I'm working on. This is my build farm, primarily for package source, because I have 150 plus packages that I maintain. And I want to make sure they work on different Unixes, just like package source itself does. But also for example, not Qmail, which you're familiar with. That is also supposed to work on multiple operating systems, and so it's helpful to be able to make sure of that periodically. At some point, I want to formalize both of those, that any package source developer, not just someone like me who's gone to a lot of trouble, but any package source developer can submit a proposed change to a package or perhaps to the infrastructure code and do either a one-off build of a leaf package or a full or partial bulk build of the whole tree and see whether that's better after than it was before, or at least as good. I feel like that's something that we need, and we need it on multiple platforms because package source is the package manager of choice on NetBSD where it originated, but also it's officially supported on Mac OS very well. Minix, I believe, uses package source as the package manager of choice. And SmartOS, which is an Illumos Solaris derivative, this is the package manager. So I try to check on at least those and a Linux, and this is how it helps. I don't think that I succeeded at starting up this Rocky Linux VM. So let's see what happened there. I was trying to start from a CD-ROM. I was hoping that it would pass the rest of the arguments in. Let's see if I say Astrid knows the answer. Okay, it is passing that through because you can see the underlying QEMU command says I don't know what that is. So so maybe it's an ordering thing, or maybe it really is coming up on the screen as much as I wanted it not to. So let's try that. The way we can do that is with VNC. I'll bring that onto the screen in just a moment. Hey now. I tried to make it hard to move things between the screens by accident. Guess what that means? It's also hard to do it on purpose. There we go. Okay. I want wanted to see if anything is happening here. Oh wow, that's going to eat my window. Let's come back to here and see if it tried to do anything on the screen there. It should not have. It did not. Okay, next question is, when I do this package VM start, what is being sent? So for that, you can just look here. Right, this is me thinking about how guessing is going to work. I didn't do that yet. So the first argument is the operating system, Rocky. Second one is the version, 9. Third is the architecture, AMD 64. And then we put together all the QEMU arguments. Boy, there are a lot. That's why I'm automating this. And let's do this. We will, yeah, we got a no defaults, we got a no graphic, we got a serial, we got a drive, and then the rest of the arguments should happen. So let's take a quick look. If we just do this for a moment, we're going to wind up running. Why does it not wrap that line? Okay, now it wraps the line that way. Now we can, nope, this is not fun. Okay, it's a QEMU, it's this machine, it's this acceleration, which is virtualization, not emulation. It's going to use the same CPU as the host. There's going to be exactly one of them. 1024 RAMs. No graphic, serial. I believe this is very similar to what we saw, but let's check. We were looking at no graphic, serial mons standard IO. Oh, that's fun. Let's try that. So if I also say this, yeah, so then it will get through, and let's let it try that. Only with the kernel option. Poop. Don't like it. Oh yeah, you can do this in Grub. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, okay. No graphic. This blog. Yeah, I do like to. This is the installation process, so I would love to just be able to hit enter and have it work. After it's installed, absolutely yes. I do like to remove any delays between starting the virtual machine and having a shell for that purpose. Yes. First, I have to get it to give me the installer in a way that I can see, which I'm not having luck with yet. So in a pinch, I guess what I can do, yeah, let's just do this one more time. What I can't figure out is how to move around here. Like the arrow keys, I don't see doing anything. K and J, for sure clicking ain't gonna be it. Yeah, it's not. And just hitting enter takes me into no man's land here. So I think what I'm gonna say for now, as a workaround, is actually run this sad face from the graphical console for now. So that's not going to show anything on this screen, and we'll have to pop over here to see the little QEMU window wherever it's trying to go. Where are we? Hello? What? Something else I need to include here. Machine, Excel, CPU, SMP, RAM, no default. Maybe default. Yay. This is not drawing accurately on my screen at all. Fortunately, it's not a remove command. There we go. Okay. Yeah, sure. Install. I want to install. All right, so we're doing this the old-fashioned way. There's a GUI. I didn't want it, but I don't see how to have it not do that. I'll figure that out at a different time because I'm not trying to show you that learning process right now. It might not be that fun. What I am trying to show you is how do we get from a clean OS install to a ready to use virtual machine for what I'm doing. So I've never installed Rocky Linux before. I have installed Red Hats and CentOSs. I hope it's similar enough. I'm sure I'll be able to figure it out. Yeah. Yeah, I was hoping to get this on the console. Maybe that's not reasonable to hope for. You know what? Quick pause. Rocky Linux serial console install. I'll give this a quick try. What was this? VMM? What? Serial? Ha ha. The ISO. Oh. What? The ISO image must support the serial console. We'll download the ISO, modify the boot line, and use the text-based installer. This is my stuff. Yeah. But am I going to be able to do that from a terminal? I want to try. I do want to try. I readily admit I would rather do that. So let's try it. That's Rocky 8. I have Rocky 9, whatever. Press the up arrow to highlight the first entry. And then we're going to put this text after the word quiet. Okay, let's see if I can get it to come up like this. Let's see how I screwed it up so I can unscrew it up. I want to put back serial and no graphic, I think. Maybe just serial. Let's try that. No. Incorrect. Also no graphic. Uh-huh. That looked very suspicious. It only showed part of what it had shown before. Because I don't have a no defaults in there. This isn't telling me the QEMU side of things. This is telling me the guest, but not the host. I would really like to know how to do this. QEMU install serial console. Serial console on a VM. But this is using Virt Manager. I'm using QEMU directly. Yeah, I'm not using Virt install. Nope. Serial standard IO. No graphic. Huh. Okay. Pass that to the command line. Don't want that. Interesting. Yeah, I have the port forwarding going. All right. Is there anything here I didn't do? Serial standard IO. I had no graphic. It is booting the CD-ROM. We saw that work. Modify the boot line. So you have to be able to. This is the thing that I couldn't do that I'm trying to figure out now. It says when presented with the boot menu, which we had seen, you press the up arrow key to highlight the first entry and then hit the tab key to enable editing of the boot line. So let's go back to where we had been. Up arrow, tab key. Hey, okay, all right. I just couldn't see it. After the word quiet, insert this text. There's the word quiet. It says remove quiet and add in that. So janky. Right here. Paste. I don't know if that worked. I really don't know if that worked. It seemed like it could have, but I'm not seeing anything. I'm sure that I will not see anything on this screen, and I don't. Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm really not sure if it did paste all of it. Let's take another look. So up arrow, tab key. And I'm not going to paste. I'm just going to type because that seems really, really fraught. So inst.text, inst.text. And then it wrapped the line, at least in my display. Console equals ttys0, comma. Console equals tty capital S0, comma. And the speed is 115,200. 115200. Yes, pasting did not work. Okay. We have a game. Let me write this stuff down. Boot installer serially. Rocky Linux, for example. What did I do? I up arrow and tab key. Up arrow, tab, remove quiet, manually type, inst.text. Yeah. Yeah. So that's how to do it with Rocky Linux. And presumably there's a way to do it also with other installers. But that's one way that it can and has worked. Text mode. Heh. All right. English United States. That's me. C'est moi. Das bin ich. Time settings, America, New York. Installation source. This CD. Do I have to tell you that? Yeah. Okay, I do. Fine. Software selection. Yeah, minimal install is good. So, does that. What? Oh, more choices. Guest agents. Rocky Linux guest agents. That doesn't. I mean, oh, like guest editions. Okay, yeah, no, I don't. I don't care about that. Standard. Continue. Not done with this, are we? One. Continue. One. Continue. Okay, so 4 doesn't look like it's done thinking about that yet, but I feel like we did do that. Automatic partitioning selected. Maybe I don't have to go through all these things. Kdump fine. Network fine. Let's see if I can specify here. Host name should be Rocky9 AMD64 .petpowerplant.local. And everything beside that is probably fine. Yeah. Root password, I will set one. Thank you very much. Yeah, I know. And let's make a user. But, oh, I see. No. Huh. One. Should I just type schmonz? Nope, that's not it. Try this. Oh, okay. Username. That's schmonz. Use password, yes. Password will be that. Administrator. I will be a member of Groups Wheel. Yep. Good. I think we're there. Complete all spokes. Fine. Then I do have to do number 5. Yeah. Use all space. Replace existing. No, yeah, use all space. You do it. You do it. Go. Cool. I have successfully, almost, not needed the GUI to install a machine. We're going to have to do something similar when we bring up the installed system until we can get into it and fix up the grub configuration to do that by default. Unless this installer is really nice and says, I noticed that you booted with Serial Console verbosely. Would you like to keep that for your installed system? So we'll see if it does that. I would be surprised. In general, the pattern I have followed, yeah, don't count chickens before they hatch. Same idea. Yeah, I have been able to see the beginning of a process that has not ended yet. Yes. What I have been able to do so far for my all these machines run serial console, but they didn't start that way for the most part. Mostly, I had to boot with the QEMU GUI and then find the system specific stuff to boot serially. And over time, I sort of factored out the QEMU commands, which is why I have this one sort of parent command, with the assumption that the virtual machines will be serial console. But I haven't had a lot of practice installing only with the serial console. So I'm happy to be starting that practice, seeing how that goes. That's how I want it to work from now on. So parts of that will still be system specific. It depends on the bootloader of what I'm installing. But probably the QEMU end of things is already right the way that it was, is what it looks like. It was just really hard to tell because I couldn't see what it was drawing, that it moved. And arrow keys are always suspect. Like sometimes they move you and sometimes they put a tilde and two brackets and don't do anything. So I just wasn't sure what to expect. But it seems like something's happening or was happening. Looks like it's running a tmux kind of a thing too. So if I do an alt tab, no, that wasn't an alt. If oh yeah, still moving. If I do a control B too, yeah, look at that, it is a tmux. Neato. Oh, probably shouldn't have closed that. Anyway, back here. So at the end of this process, assuming that it succeeds, I will have a disk image with a Rocky Linux 9 in it that I can boot but not see very well yet. Make it so that I can see it, make sure I can SSH into it, and then we'll go through the process of probably the Red Hat steps here. I assume Rocky Linux is going to be more like that than other things. If it's not like that at all, we'll figure it out. So that we have the ability to mount an NFS mount point where all the source code is going to come from. We have a compiler that's hopefully good enough to bootstrap package source and a bunch of packages. And then we will do that. We'll bootstrap package source and get set up. Speaking of bootloader. What do we think? Do we think it preserved our serial console? That would be really nice if it did. I mean, these changes are exactly the ones that I have been making manually in grub configurations. Remove quiet because I want all the verbose stuff in case something doesn't boot. It's free. It's not like scrolling through the terminal is not a big deal. And then I wanted to have the console on that port. Okay, how did we do? Installation complete. Press enter to quit. I don't know if this is the installed system or the... Yeah, let's just find out the old-fashioned way. If the bootloader is already set the way we want. Okay, I don't believe that I want that yet. You stop. Possible. Possible to probable. Not bad. I'm done. I don't have to go and futz with the serial console. It is the serial console. I think that would be in here. Yeah, serial console, serial speed. So somebody paid attention to that in the user experience with the installer, and I thank that person. That's very nice of them. One thing I can do is cut that grub timeout as requested by viewer Astrid. Let's look. Grub remove timeout. I think I just edit that number and run something, but I never remember what. Displays the menu by 5 seconds by default. Pressing any key removes the timeout. Longer timeout, remove the timeout. Set it to -1 to wait indefinitely. That's not what I want. 0, boot the default immediately. Yeah, that's what I want. Okay, so I need to set it to 0. 0. Bloop. And then we do that by doing that. Do I have one? Don't. Update grub on Rocky Linux. It's always different. Here we go. On most Linux systems, you run update grub 2 or like this. Blah, 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 blah. Can I just do that? No. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I feel you. What just happened even? I didn't even get to see it. Let's shut down. Yeah, okay, that worked. And then remove bootloader timeout. Linux EG. And this one. grub timeout equals 0, and let's see default grub. Then bleh, then that very memorable command. Cool. Okay, so we made it to OS install. This is a Rocky Linux. It has. Does it have networking? Maybe. How about an important website? So DNS is definitely fine. Maybe ping is firewalled or something. Let's try this way. Package VM. Oh, bother. Just a moment. Okay. Package VM shell Rocky 9 AMD 64. Yeah, we haven't connected here before. Now we have. I don't have an SSH key set up there. That's next. Okay. SSH copy ID into the guest. Yo. So, what was the trick? I think I just say Rocky 9. Or Rocky. Should be good. Yeah. And now, if I go here, passwordless. Yeah! Rocky would have worked too. Yes. So, Gorsk, is this a system with Yum? It is. Okay. So let's go for Yum update. Oh. I hate having to do passwords for sudo. It's against my religion. I'm in the group wheel. Is that mentioned here? Yep. Okay. And we're off. Yeah, it's very okay. Do it. I don't know anything about Rocky Linux except that I heard that there was some kind of a kerfuffle or a to do or a with. Yeah, I definitely validated that key myself for sure a lot. It's good. Um, some kind of kerfuffle with CentOS, and I don't know, was it with open source or it was with the licensing or it was with the support contract? I don't know. I just know that um, on the package source bulk build lists where you see the results of automated complete package source builds on different systems, I saw that that's doing Rocky Linux now instead of CentOS 7 and 8. And I just thought, I'm not trying to do anything novel here. I just want to use whatever Linux people are using. And I think this is the Red Hat derivative of choice now at the moment. So, um, we'll see. Installing it. So I figure I'll do, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I am personally subscribed to enough of them that I can't keep up with all of them. I came up with BSD, as we've probably talked about. That's its own whole thing. And then within each BSD, you have politics because they're big enough projects to have that. And I keep up where I can. I got a busy life, and I care about the ones that I have to care about, and I try to ignore the ones that I don't. Interesting. That kernel core one was slow in the original install too. Wonder what it's doing. Okay, so you technically can resize that to 1 character wide. Never had a vertical prompt before. Schmons at pet power plant. Schmons at pet power plant. LS. It's a fun challenge to use a computer that way. I guess I just don't need that at all. Yeah. So I'm doing my system update. I guess this is after install, huh? And for my example, I was using NPST9 Max 68K. Let's stick with that example. Yeah. Okay, so yum update is probably done. If I do it again, it's done. Okay. Yum update or what have you. Passwordless sudo to be able to do that. Okay, now I made it to prerequisites. And we've convinced ourselves this is a yum system. So without trying to learn anything new, I'm going to do that with a sudo. Oh, okay. Maybe I don't need that. What is Red Hat LSB core? Oh, it's in Red Hat 8 and below, not in Red Hat 9. Probably they just included it. Yeah, very okay. I would love to have this all the way automated for known operating systems someday, but it's pretty good. Okay, so now we have a CC, we have a mount NFS, mount -t NFS, something like that. Woo, okay. Make dir trees. And then I want to steal this from some other FS tab. That's usually how I do it. So let's pop over here. Package VM starts CentOS 9 and 64. That one needs its startup timeout removed. Help them out. Which one's tree? It's dramatic. Yeah. Why are we making me wrap lines? All right. What is it? Let's. One of these is the line wrapper. Nope, none of those was it. Is it X? Okay. We're going to use SSH. And then we won't have this problem. Oh, poop. Somehow the interfaces got renumbered. It's there. It's right there. Do it. Thanks for joining. I'm happy you could come. Nice to see you a little bit. I'll take luck and knowledge. Yeah, we'll just do it this way. Whatever I want. See you again soon. Maybe we can program together one of these days. Would be great. No A time. Just voodoo. It's just all voodoo. Nobody knows anything. Now I should be able to say, great, thanks for the hint. Yeah, there's all our source trees. Oh, this still has the old arrangement. Whoop, do I not have? Okay, I feel like show P0. Huh. Trying to figure out the networking on this other host. Woof. Where does that happen? Well, maybe I won't be running this soon, but yikes. I don't know, man. I'm not trying to solve that right now, and I'll probably remove that virtual machine. So bye-bye. Okay, here we are with our NFS having been mounted. And now I can say Mons trees. I gotta do this as root. Package builders, bin, package build, Bootstrap. Woo! This machine is coming up. Oh, very exciting. This is a package source Bootstrap. And it is using some settings that are particular to my virtual machines. Partly because that's the way I like them, and partly because I have some differences from the defaults just on purpose to make sure that things that are supposed to be configurable by the user really are. So, for example, the most common install prefix for binaries and man pages and all that is user package, but that should not be hard coded in any paths in the build process because it can be set by the user to something else. I like to set it to opt package to exercise that. And also because user package does not work on Mac OS. So I like to pick a path that works on all the platforms for me. And opt package is what I use on NetBSD as well. That way also I can know for sure that I shouldn't try to mix and match packages from other sources because the paths aren't the same. That makes it really obvious that they're not following the same build settings. And that I built my own stuff and that I should stick to that. Yeah, so this is bootstrapping with some settings that I like to have, so that all the VMs are the same. And again, so that things that are supposed to be optional and configurable get tested to show that they really are, or fail to be, and then we can fix it. All right, the package source bootstrap completed. Okay. The thing that I need to do next that comes from my messages are to edit at cpackagemk.conf and make sure that we remove things that are extraneous. Things can be extraneous because I have a shared include file that defines nearly everything. And I try to minimize the differences per platform or conditionalize them so that they can be shared in there. So for example, things that I don't need are package source compiler. Oh no, I don't need anything that isn't ABI, package source compiler, or tools platform. So here's ABI, I'm going to keep it. But all of these are going to be handled, and all of these are going to be defined in this shared config file. So I'm not going to bother with that. This is really it. Got to make sure you define your ABI because that's an admin decision. It's not sort of a platform decision. It's an admin decision. And that's it. So now I've done that. Now I've done this. So now we're going to go into setting up my dot files. And for now, nothing is in my path. So I don't have bmake yet because I didn't do this. I'm not going to do it manually. That's going to happen from my dot files being present. So I'm going to say opt package bin bmake right in here. Didn't make the bash rc because there is one. Okay, the dot profile got made. So let's move the bash rc to bash rc rocky 9 ridge. Give this another go. Okay, this time it made that. Now we make a vim subdirectory and symlink all my nice plugins to there. Now we load the profile. And then when we say bmake, there is one, and there's no target. When we say man bmake, it's in the path. Okay, so now we go into package builders and handle all that, which gives me all these goodies in my bin directory. A wrapper around the cvs command, even though I don't have that installed yet, I will. A wrapper around the make command so that I don't have to remember to type bmake at all from now on. Just regular make, and if I'm in package source, it'll use that. And the package build command, which has a bunch of handy things, including Bootstrap that we just did, and a variety of other ones. So for example, package build n CPUs will output 1, because this machine is running with 1 CPU. So that just knows per platform how to deduce the number of CPUs available so that the package builds on this platform will automatically be parallelized as much as they can or as little as they should be. Okay, so we finished with configure environment. Now we build my package source DevTools. So we cd into trees package source CVS, package tools schlock. And this is sort of a prerequisite for the build process. Okay, so this is why we have this step. I don't like this platform name that we get by default. And this gives me a chance before we build too many packages. You can see the different platforms that I currently have packages piled up for. It gives me a chance to define the platform name now. This is just a local setting, but I like to have it rationalized before I make a pile of anything. So where is that computed? As I recall, it's in here. Package build platform. Comes from the package build platform command, and then it does some stuff to it. So that's easy enough to work on. Package build platform says this, and I want it to say probably just Rocky Linux 9.2, and then stop there, and then the other stuff would happen to it. Yeah, and then the makefile will post-process this stuff on, which is all fine. I just want it not to include that part. So let's see if we can figure that out. Package build platform. So this is how it works for Linux. There is a user bin LSB release, so it does this kind of sed stuff to it. And I think I see what would help. Even though this is a really long sed command. Let us bust this out a little bit. So we can see. And that should run just as well as before. Yeah. Then I think what would help is if we also do this. Not quite. What was that? That was a space or maybe any character. Are these literal parentheses or is this a capture? I think they're literal parentheses. A dot. Not sure about this. Let's see what our output from this command looks like on this system. Oh, that's why it doesn't make a difference. We don't have LSB release. Rocky Linux LSB release. Red Hat LSB. Or LSB core. No. They're really just not including it. Ugh, okay, I don't care about that, so let's not. The point was, though, we're not going down this code path. Is there an Etsy OS release? There is, and that's where we're getting it from. Okay. Let's do the same maintainability idea here. This had been inline in the make file, which was kind of hard to work with. And that's why I extracted it here. And now that I need to change it, it's nice to make it a little easier to work with yet again. Okay, so again, this should work as well as before. If we say package build platform. And um, is there a pretty name? Yeah, I don't. Is that the one I'm trying to get? Yeah, I'm trying to get the pretty name. That's interesting. What are my other choices that would say Rocky if I can type it? Name is good. Name and version ID might be a good way to do it. Name is this, and version ID was this. So maybe I should be doing that. Yeah, let's say maybe name and version ID. But for now, I'm going to take that idea. See if it helps. Yeah. Okay. So two changes here. Ooh. Ah, package VM shell Rocky 9 64 CD trees package root builders. Oh, I don't have git. Nuts. Okay, you can do that on the host. Right. So these are non-functional changes right there. Split. Yes, that one. Yes, that one. Yes, that one. No, that one. Yeah. Package build. Wrap long lines. No functional change intended. Okay. Then here's an idea for later. And here's something for right now. Package build. Handle Rocky Linux. Host name. Or platform name. Okay. So now when I say MSV, package build platform, Rocky Linux version, architecture, compiler, prefix. Cool. So that's why we have this step. Now I'm going to build it. And there it is. And so if we look in packages, there is one. That one. Now I have myself making sudo here, but that's just in case the system didn't have it. I'm happy with the system one now that it works the way I want. Fetch package vulnerabilities. And that'll get rid of this warning. No bother. Huh. Off the package has been, off the package bin. Try again, it's gonna work. Yeah. Enable. And secure path will need not package. Has been not package bin. Okay, so we did that. Now I like to get my own bash because not every system has an up-to-date bash. And just use that as my trustworthy regular shell. That also brings in a lot of dependencies that are often needed. And right now, I can't quite do a lot of stuff in parallel yet. Because a lot of the same things are needed. And so we need to finish some of those first. So like, for example, this is Perl. Does Bash need Perl? No, but something that Bash needs to build itself does. And so will a lot of other things. So the sooner we get that sorted, the better, and then we can start to parallelize a little better. Now, when you do bulk builds, that's one of the things that the bulk builder handles for you, is it makes a dependency tree and walks it in the order of most needed to sort of most leafy on the dependency tree. With some other optimizations, like packages that are known to take a long time to build, but are pretty leafy, will get started a little earlier. I think that's something that the bulk builder will do. But in terms of like the trunk of the dependency tree, it does that in the best possible order as early as possible, and then the parallelization can broaden up to whatever your system has for CPUs. So this part is a little slow, but we are bootstrapping Bash. To recap, we have already brought up Rocky Linux 9 as a fresh install from an ISO in serial console mode, which is a new thing for me. I want to be able to do that from now on, and I found a way to do it for Rocky Linux. And then after it was installed, the installer very nicely preserved the serial console-ness that we had manually set, so I didn't have to go figure out how to manually set it in the configuration files. They were already updated. But I did want to remove the countdown from the bootloader to just skip it and go directly to the operating system. And so I figured out how to do that. And then I copied in my SSH key so that I can passwordlessly SSH. And then I updated the system. In this case, that was Yum, because it's a Red Hat derived system. I made sure sudo could be run passwordlessly, because on my build systems, I always want that. And then we installed an NFS client and compiler. And then we brought up package source itself in a Bootstrap. We linked in my dot files and my vim dot files and my vim modules. Loaded my profile. Saw that the paths were updated, both for binaries and man pages. And installed some local commands, like a CVS wrapper, a make wrapper, and the package build command that the package VMs need. And now, after sorting out the name of the platform and an idea for how to sort it out more thoroughly, we are into it. So for example, if I pop over here, we will have a few at this point. So Schlock was the one that we built first to make sure we had things sorted out. And then along the way, the NetBSD version of the patch command to make sure that we have the functionality that we need at build time to apply patches. The digest command, which checks checksums on the tarballs that we download automatically to make sure they match and haven't been tampered with. And check perms, which is a package developer tool mainly, to make sure that the permissions of installed files are as they ought to be. And now we're into building Perl. And we could even just do like a watch command here. Perl is getting what looks like installed into the staging directory, from which place a package will get made. And then shortly after that, we'll see that below. Yep. Now we're on to the next one, and the next one. See a few more packages here on the next update. That was pretty quick. Yep. So now we also got help to man, we got P5 get text, we got Perl. And there's more happening. So this is all waiting for bash. What's going to happen from here on out, I'm just going to talk through it, and then this seems like an okay place to stop. Once we have bash, I'm going to change my shell to the package source bash, which is a little risky. If the shell ever breaks, like the shared libraries under it break, or I don't know, that's the main scenario I can think of, then I won't be able to log in with it. It's okay, I have a root login on a serial console. It's good practice for making sure that I notice when stuff breaks and it's recoverable, so it's okay. I'm happy with that. The next thing I would do once it's my shell is I would install package rolling replace, which is the tool you maybe saw me look at earlier on the Debian 12 update for in place updating the packages that have already been installed. So I like to have that ready to go, and then I like to install fetch, which is sort of a rationalized portable fetch command. It's really fit for purpose, and that's really it. Then, not all of the manual pages, like the stuff that was bootstrapped, the manual pages will not have been compressed. And I just like to have everything have been built the same way now that I'm bootstrapped. And I usually like to have manual pages be compressed, except for platforms where that doesn't work, to read them. And so this command will use package rolling replace and fetch to notice anything that needs rebuilding because its manual pages aren't compressed. So those are all the things that were from Bootstrap time, like package install, bmake, those kinds of ones. And so when that's done, we'll actually have packages for those in the package file. After that, I like to go into the package developer meta package and install that. Those are a bunch of tools that are handy for a person like me that is developing packages pretty often. And then more tools, which I should probably turn into another kind of a meta package, are things that I like to have as a developer that maybe not everybody does, but I do. And then we put everything into Git, as you saw on Debian. I was able to recover some changes after a system upgrade by looking at Git. And this is how. I have etc keeper, and if the system doesn't have it natively, we can get it from package source. So that's a good idea there. Then I just go and work on installing the packages that I care about the most, which are anything related to Qmail and anything related to IkiWiki. Those are things you often see me stream about here too. So Qmail things are all here. IkiWiki things are here. And then if those are fine, then a further step I like to go is to install package comp, which is the tool that I use every week or so to rebuild all of the packages that my personal server needs. And if package comp will install, then on whatever platform this is, then it's possible that that's a platform that could be a server for me. And I do like to keep my options open. I love NetBSD. I can't think of any reason I would change, but I do like to see all my stuff that my server needs, which are some of my packages and lots of other people's packages. If I can see them working on a Linux, that makes me feel better. If I see them working on a Mac, that makes me feel better. If I see them even working on, some kind of a Solaris platform, I like knowing that I could. I like knowing that my options are open, and that's one of the reasons I like investing in package source, is to make sure that they are. So once I get to this point, that is a very fully up and running package source developer machine for me. I periodically update the operating system. I periodically run package rolling replace to update the packages. And when things are broken, I deal with them. That's the package developer lifestyle. When I have time to deal with breakage, then I try updating. And then I find the breakage. And that's a reason that I like to have so many platforms, is that the problems are sometimes limited to one or the other, or sometimes they're more general. And to narrow that down, it helps to have multiple platforms to triangulate, and then to test a fix, especially if it seems like it might be invasive. It's really helpful to have a lot of other platforms to be sure that you didn't screw up. I remember one recently. It was libspf2, which is used by a variety of email server software, including Qmail. And there were some newer glibc versions, as I was able to narrow down from my build farm, where symbols were defined but not available at link time or something like that. And so I did something that seemed a little invasive, and I was able to see that it was, and I could do something less invasive and sort of conditionalize where I did what, and come up with sort of the least inelegant, well-tested solution before I committed it and broke anybody's build. And I feel like all package source developers should have access to systems like this. So that's why I'm gradually systematizing what I have. I would like it to be really not a manual process at all, but to have a system that you say, I would like, here's a change to a package. Try this package on every platform you know about. And tell me if it looks like it's going to be okay. And if it is, I'll commit it. Or maybe if it's good on all of them but one, I'll commit it, and then I'll ask for help after that. Or maybe many of them are broken, and I'll say, okay, I'm going to fix that first. Or if you had a change to the infrastructure of package source, which is really important, and that's one of the reasons it works as well as it does. It would be great to be able to do a bulk build, a partial build or a full build, and then compare a before and after of a proposed change. That makes it a lot easier to accept if the change is clearly better, or if it's clearly not worse. So I think we need this, and in the absence of being able to have it as a funded project that I have time for, I'm just working on it in my spare time, because I think it would really improve our development process, make it safer and faster, maybe more fun, because right now I think what happens de facto is people make changes and hope they're okay, and that doesn't feel great. Nobody feels great about that. And some people take care afterwards when things have been broken, and some people don't, and that doesn't make it a fun team effort either. And so I really think this is something we need, especially for a project that for nearly everybody participating in it is just out of love. There's no money involved for nearly anybody involved. We should make it more fun. So faster feedback, less fear, less resentment. Just make it easy to try stuff and know the ramifications of that before you decide what to do with it. And that's what I think we want. So I'm slowly working toward that. And there are two tools that I have. You've seen both of them. One of them is package VM, which starts a virtual machine and lets you connect to it and lets you stop it and various things like that. And then there's package build, which is something that the guest operating systems use that kind of abstracts is this a virtual machine, which is a handy thing to know the answer to when you want to say shut down, because you don't want to shut down the host. It can answer the question of how many CPUs does this machine seem to have, because there's not really a portable way to report that across operating systems. And so a little shell script that massages various outputs and produces a number is handy there. It also can do the build that I like for all the packages for my server that I do every week. You can kick that off and do the upload. And a few other things. So this package VM is mainly for the host, and package build is mainly for the guest. And both of those names are probably going to change. But for now, that's what I have. And they help make things go. I think we're actually pretty close to getting to Bash here. It's building Bison, which is a compiler that Bash uses for its syntax parser. And I think that might be usually the last thing before it builds Bash. So maybe we'll actually get there, and then I can change shell to it. I haven't done a stream this long for a while. Okay, we got Bash. So now I can say package bin bash. Validate that I'm allowed to do that. And live dangerously, and we got right in. Is it going to say which batch? No, but it is. Yeah, so we did this, and now we can go into, yeah, my CD path thing is working. No, it's not. Too bad. So I have to manually source the bash RC. Still no? Okay. Figure that out later. But this is a, hey now, did you not source my profile? Oh, okay. So I didn't test this before. Let's remove bash profile to dash profile. I missed this one. Rocky9.ridge. And let's go into here. Oops. And now we'll have that bash profile. So now maybe it'll work. CD to here. Yes. Okay. So because there was a batch profile, it was using that in preference to my dot profile. I just moved it aside and now it knows what to do. Okay, so make install clean. Package rolling replace is done. I'll go to fetch, make install clean. So this needs to go get OpenSSL. So right now we aren't able to fetch things using the native fetcher through SSL, but this is part of a Bootstrap process. It's not part of the Bootstrap script in package source because you don't technically need it to get to where you can do the rest. But that's why I like to do that step now. Make sure that we're fetching things that way and that SSL is built and available and works. Even though it doesn't matter a ton for fetching, because usually you can fall back to non-SSL, and always, SSL or no, the tarball gets validated against expected size and 2 different cryptographic checksums. So even if you fetch it insecurely, even if someone tries to man in the middle you, you would see that had happened, or it wouldn't complain because it didn't happen. This is just something that everything's going to need, and so it's good to see it built early and make sure that things are linking with it when they should, that the option is available. So that's happening. You can see we're starting to build up a nice collection here. OpenSSL. So the next thing that happens once we have that is this package build man compress, and I want to show you what that does. Why are we having this problem? My external display is popping on and off, so it's changing the resolution here. Let's keep an eye on that. Man compress. So this is what happens. We find files not with a compressed suffix anywhere in op package man, and then look up which package they came from. So again, any uncompressed manual pages, which package did that come from? And then for each of those, mark that package as needing a rebuild. And then call package rolling replace in a real particular way to rebuild just those and anything that they need. Not necessarily any other updates, but just anything that says it needs a rebuild. And so that's what package build man compress does, and it's time to do it. So it's going to rebuild bmake and package install. And package install now, given the choice, will link with OpenSSL itself. It wasn't doing that before. Let's just show you. LDD up package, sbin package, add. Does not link with package source. It was not linked with OpenSSL. Hi, BOFU to you. Good morning to you. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing your handle. Good morning. I'm going to be wrapping up the session soon, but I'm going through, we installed Rocky Linux from an ISO serial console only through QEMU. In the past, I've had to set up new virtual machines with VNC to the graphical host, but I'm trying not to need that. I was able to get that going with Rocky Linux. And then we we brought up, let's scroll up over here. We brought up we turned off the countdown in the bootloader because this is a virtual machine, and if it breaks, I'll make another one. Copied in the SSH ID from the host, updated the system, made sudo passwordless, installed the prerequisites of an NFS client and a compiler, mounted NFS and Bootstrap package source, put my dot files in place, and installed the tools that I use to manage the package builder machines. Then started down the path of bringing up the additional package tools that I like as a package source developer. And right now we're on this step where things that were part of the package source Bootstrap, the package install tools, bmake, a couple others, may or may not have compressed their manual pages when they were part of the Bootstrap process. And so now they have. And now they've been rebuilt in a regular environment, which means they can link with OpenSSL to fetch things, for example, or what have you. So here we are, and I'm about to finish signing off for now, but let's go into package developer. And this is a bunch of tools that package source developers like to have. So I'm going to go get them. Even though this is a VM, pretty often I'm trying things in VMs. That's why I have this build farm. Let me show you real quick what the build farm looks like. Oops. It looks like this. So these are the VMs that I have for building. Everything AMD 64 or x64 or x86 or i386 is hosted on the machine you're watching now because it's native to that host platform. And then everything ARM64 or any other platform, like all these NetBSDs that I love, those are hosted on a different machine. That's my M1 MacBook Air, because that's either native there or it's the fastest emulator. And this package VM is a script of mine that I'm actively working on. Actually, the best way to show you is run it without arguments. So list you saw, start starts one, shell SSHs you in, stop stops one. Guess doesn't exist yet, but as you can imagine, I don't always want to type Debian 12 AMD 64. I usually just want to type Debian and have it guess that it's the newest one on the platform that I'm on. And so I want to make guess work, and then I want to incorporate it without explicitly needing it in list and start and shell and stop. So that's sort of in progress. Yeah, so this is how I do my package source development responsibly, is to be able to try things on at least a few of these platforms until I'm convinced that I'm not going to break the whole world. And likewise when I'm doing not QMail development, which ideally I would have some even older virtual machines than these to make sure we don't break any of the really older platforms. But this is still pretty good for making sure we're not doing anything Linux specific, for example. And long term, I want to make these available to I'm one package source developer out of many dozens of active developers. It shouldn't have to be the case that each package source developer goes to this kind of trouble to get this kind of a test bed. This should be part of our infrastructure that any package source developer can submit a proposed change to and find out before they commit that it seems like a good idea or not. And it can also shorten discussions of whether something is going to work or not. We can see that things aren't worse, and then we can debate whether we like the code or not. But we can short circuit guessing whether it will work or won't work. We can see the results and then decide. So I'm slowly but surely, because this is not a funded project, this is me in my spare time, exactly what I'm thinking is a CI pipeline. If this were a funded project, I would be cranking on it all the time. But it's in my spare time, so I'm just trying to automate a little bit more each time through. So like today, I figured out that I can skip the QEMU graphical interface when setting up a new machine. And that's a step that I wanted to document. So I have a long checklist, and it's gradually turning into more and more scripting. And that's what we're seeing here. That's cool that you can see and appreciate what I'm working on here. I really am happy to see that. Sometimes I feel like, especially with package source, which is not the world's most popular software project, It's kind of underappreciated. And so somebody saying what I'm talking about with that means a lot. Thank you. Not super familiar with QEMU, but as a result of this project, I was gradually switching off of VirtualBox, and I had a lot of one-off scripts for each VM with the QEMU arguments that I remembered that day. And then I realized this is a lot of duplication, and it's not even good duplication. Like, it's not accurately reflecting all my learning in every script. And so I should factor this out. And that's what the package VM script started as a way to call QEMU the same way with configuration files for the differences. And that's where it's headed. It may not wind up being called package VM. Ooh. I have heard of OpenStack. I haven't heard of the second thing. Let's do some Googling. OpenStack uses QEMU. Nice. And Solus VM. That was it. Proxmox. Interesting. Yeah, come to think of it, along the way, I have often thought I am not the first person to try to systematize my use of QEMU. Surely there is something comparable that I could be borrowing from. And yeah, I guess the thing that put me off of some of the stuff I looked at, and I don't remember if this was any of it, was the portability. That QEMU itself can use whatever accelerator happens to be available on your system. And a lot of the stuff I saw seemed really KVM or really Linux specific for hosting. And that's not where I'm coming from. So maybe I wrongly ruled some things out just because I wanted to learn incrementally myself. Maybe some of these things could be hosted on a Mac, for instance, which is what I have for a fast computer these days. Yeah, and Windows, fortunately, I don't care about. I don't have that for a fast machine to host, and I don't need it for a guest. So, yeah, exactly. Yep. Yeah. So this is coming up with the package developer tools. What we have so far in our Rocky Linux directory is this nice pile of packages, which is more and more just enough for me to do what I need on this platform, and then I'll probably get rid of the CentOS machines and use this instead. Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, actually, that's something right now that I sort of manually tweak in my machine configurations. So, for example, speaking of Ubuntu 20, this one currently I give it half a gig, but every now and then I'm building something that needs more, and then I manually bump it, and then I maybe manually bump it back. There's no real rhyme or reason to it. Um, I'm just trying to, make the requirements as small as I can, so that in theory I could run them all at the same time. But yeah, I just haven't tried to exercise what happens if I give them all 2 gigs and run them all at the same time, and then actually just build on some of them or build on all of them. It sounds like you're saying QEMU would, for the most part, manage it. Oh, okay, okay, yeah. What I don't like is that it's a manual process. Um, on some level, it kind of has to be, because what are the minimum RAM requirements for doing a package source bulk build? It depends. What are the RAM requirements for the hungriest package? And the way you find that out is by failing to exceed it. So I don't know if there's something more automatable than that. But yeah, That's cool that you've seen more about this. I'm just getting to know the tool. And like I try to ignore it as much as possible and only learn things when I have to, but it would be nice to skip ahead. Drone.io. Uh-huh. Lots of handy links here. I'm going to do some reading today. Yeti? I haven't heard of that. Oh, okay. Because I don't speak that language. Okay, yeah. So you're testing an app with different database backends to make sure that it really lives up to what it promises. And this pipeline, nice. Okay. Yeah. So that actually reminds me of another constraint that I may mistakenly be operating under, which is I'm kind of hoping to be making something that when it is automated enough, these are great ideas. I love them. When it's automated enough, it might be acceptable to run on the NetBSD Foundation's project infrastructure. And so I'm guessing from past experience, because I'm the person that got the NetBSD wiki running on project infrastructure, those were pretty tight constraints. And there was really only one way to thread that needle. So I kind of have that imprinted on my decision making here, that if this is shell scripts, if it's QEMU, if the dependencies themselves are really limited, then it would be easier for some paranoid admins to be willing to run it. Yeah, so it's a long way away, but I'm trying to not rule that out and make sure that it's something that could happen. So again, I'm probably being unnecessarily conservative, but uh, but I'm trying to have this be able to succeed someday, and I think that might be needed. Yeah, right. I'm with you. Yeah, I mean, and they have to be very paranoid. They're right because the code repository for NetBSD is a very high value target. There are a lot of products that are based on NetBSD, and we can't be screwing around with who mistakenly got access to mess with it. In theory, if they got like CVS write access, then all the history of whatever they did is available. But if they got SSH access or like root SSH access to the machine, we are in deep doo-doo because we won't be able to make any guarantees about the provenance of anything built on NetBSD. So they are very paranoid, and I'm happy they are. And that's all. I'm thinking of these people specifically when I want to like Petra, Thor. Would you be willing to? And that informs my decisions. Hmm. Okay. Yeah, I haven't tried hardened BSD. I've heard of it, but I haven't gotten to try. That's a FreeBSD variant, right? It's like FreeBSD plus a lot more hardening, if I remember right. Oh, nice. Okay, so this is why you know everything that I'm talking about. You're the best possible audience for what I'm doing. Cool. Nice. So I'm schmons at netbsd.org, schmons at pkgsrc.org. If you've ever seen that around, that's me. Man, this Go build is tedious. Nice. And if you have any handle you want me to know about, you could maybe send it privately, and then I would know who you are, if you want. Happy to have you anonymous as you like. So where were we? We were, thick into this one. Sure. You just do actually useful things with the products. Nothing wrong with that. Yeah. I often wish that there was some way to get paid more directly. I was paid once in 2000, something with a lot of zeros in it, to make the Qmail packages work on Mac OS X. I had a client that knew that they wanted Qmail and had a Mac server. And that one time, I was paid an hourly rate for a few hours. So, yeah, I haven't hooked up anything for a donate button on this channel because I haven't been twitching a lot lately. But I do have. Here, let me just show you. Thank you for asking, by the way. I know, right? Yeah, that's one of my big projects. I'm still involved with it, actually. If you've heard of Not Qmail, the community fork since a few years ago, I'm responsible for instigating that. And sometimes I stream about that here as well. So here is where we could talk about, not that one, this one. Ha! No kidding. Okay. Nice. Very, very cool. Yeah, so I have Patreon, I have GitHub sponsors, and then I have all these links. It's all from here. I'll paste that into the chat for anybody interested. Outgoing, I presume, based on your follow-up comment. An impressive number. Yeah. Right on. So actually, that's something that's been on my mind for a while. Yeah, wow. Goodness. So Qmail, which you maybe remember a lot about from back in the day, has there are a lot of weird things about it, but it has a great architecture. I was going to say, like, that's not going to work out of the box. You got to do something. So, for example, incoming mail for Qmail. Trying to think what that means. I don't think I understood that. Yeah, incoming mail comes on a program that relies on something else, like inetd or TCP server, providing the network on standard in and standard out, which means like the SMTP server doesn't have to know anything about IP version 4, IP version 6, IP version hasn't been invented yet. You just plug in a different version of a program or a different version of the networking substrate and you're connected. The problem is, before DJB retired from dealing with this shit, he did not do the same to the SMTP client in Qmail. And so there's some fallout from that. And I've been really intending, when I can get some spare time for that, to factor that out into an SMTP client that expects standard in and standard out provided by TCP client or SSL client, or able to switch between them. So that, because right now the way you get TLS on a Qmail installation is really, it's a huge, like it's a big patch, and then you're linking with OpenSSL directly into your address space. And I'm 100% sure DJB would not have chosen that. And so what I have actually I've solved half the problem. And that's here. Yeah. I've solved the problem for incoming mail on port 25, where I don't use the TLS patch for that. I use additional programs composed into the command chain that can negotiate TLS, so that yeah, it's not gross. And this is sort of I never figured out how to make good pictures about it, but these are the pictures that I have. The way that things worked in the old days was you would have your TCP server listening on port 25. You would have your email SMTPD with this weird patch listening on port 25. And then it was a weird patch because it ran check password. Instead of check password running it ran check password. And then check password had to call a program that returned a true value so that SMTPD would agree that authentication succeeded. That is not how this stuff was supposed to work. It was a weird patch for authentication. So what I have instead is the way that people do these days. Um, yeah. Port 25 is for incoming and port 587 is for submission. And those are different services. This one doesn't have any funny stuff going on. It just has like opportunistic encryption from the underlying SSL server. And that's what fix SMTP.io does. And then on the submission port, I basically took the authentication patch, made it work a lot like the POP3 authentication always had worked, and then merged those two programs. So that's a program that speaks just enough POP3 to speak user and pass, and then forks off a child. And AuthUp also speaks just enough SMTP to do auth plain and auth login. I think that's it. And then run the child with the rest of the information. And so, so this uses check password the same way that POP3 always has in Qmail. It's basically like I listened to what the architecture already said and then did that. So there's no genius going on here. It's just like paying attention. And so that's why this submission service works super well. And with the side effect, as I noticed after I got it working, that it runs, yeah, it runs the submission process in the same Unix authenticated context as my user account, which is the same context that incoming mail, the Qmail local delivering to me, would. So like I can statefully do things with mail that I send to influence the mail that I receive, which it sounds kind of abstract, but it's actually practically useful when you're doing something like posting to DJB's mailing lists that have this Q secretary thing, and there's software that exists for that, but it wasn't adapted to this context. All of a sudden, it can run as me at submission time, and then it can run as me and look at what it wrote down last time at incoming time, and it can handle the Q secretary stuff for me. Super nice. So that's what I did about incoming. It handles TLS, it handles auth, and it requires no changes to either of these programs. You can patch them for whatever you want. It'll still work, but you don't have to. So, yeah. So I have in mind to do something really similar for the SMTP client in Qmail, but really need time to be able to do that. It's on my list. Maybe I'll stream about that soon. Yeah, email is a mess. I mean, ultimately, my goal with developing not Qmail is that I would like it to be true. It's not, but I would like it to be true that it's so easy to run a mail server that everybody can do it. And I just feel like the way the Qmail is shaped, even though some parts of the inside are weird, the way that it's generally shaped is the right shape and should not be discarded and is rehabilitatable and should be rehabilitated. So, no, I haven't. Let me check that out. Home Lab mail server. This looks like it might be it. Am I in the right place? Does anybody say where to go about this? I'm gonna go out on a limb and say Qmail is not on this list. Wow, this is really thorough. I'm gonna join that, I guess. Sheesh, it's a lot. Okay, wow, package developer finished installing. More tools. Let's take a quick look at what that would do, but I think I gotta head out for an appointment shortly. More tools. Yeah, I want to turn this into a meta package instead of sort of hand coding it here, but these are things that I like to have locally. Um, Believe it or not, you don't get CA certificates by default with package source. And so I want them. And then these are also other things that I always want. And this is going to go install them. Quick detour into CVS for Gits, and then I'm going to sign off for today. In my bin directory, there's a CVS that is a pointer to CVS for Gits that I don't have installed yet. CVS for Gits is for people like me, hopefully not you, but if you are using CVS, but you use Git a lot more, and you wish that CVS was a little bit less not like Git, then it helps. So it does a few things when it wraps CVS. It colorizes and pages the output of CVS diff. It invents a command called CVS show by leaning on CVS PS to generate the change list. Likewise with git log, it makes a log that looks kind of like a git log. And it automatically pages some long output from these commands. That's what it does so far. It's mainly CVS diff when I'm developing a package that I want to be able to see visually the same way that I see git diff visually without thinking about it. I used to manually pipe to color diff, and I didn't want to have to type that. I just wanted to have to type CVS diff and get it. So that's what CVS for Gits is about. Yeah. So we're pretty far along the way here. I'll probably do more of this later, but we very nearly have Rocky Linux up and running, serially consoled, verbosely booted, with a lot of the package source developer stuff that I need present. We need to get Etsy into Git before I screw anything up so that I can roll back when I do. And then we'll build my most important packages, and then this is one of my highest functioning virtual machines, just like that. So, yeah, thank you very much for watching, especially BOFU to you, Bafutu. I don't know ethnically what kind of a name that is. Especially with all the suggestions that you gave in the chat. Those were awesome. Yeah, really, I learned a lot today. I thought I was going to learn a little bit, if at all, but learned a lot. So thank you for pitching in. Bofu to you. Yeah, nice. Very cool. So thanks for watching. See you back when I stream next time. I don't have a regular schedule right now, but I'm happy that I have any schedule. So whenever you see it and you can drop in, that's great. Appreciate it. So thanks for watching, and see you next time.